It finally happened. NASCAR dropped a bombshell, and no one saw it coming. On November 13th, 2025, the sport didn't just release a schedule. No, this wasn't just a boring calendar drop. NASCAR pulled the curtain back on something way bigger. Start times, broadcast shakeups, unexpected returns. 2026 isn't just another season. It's a full-blown reset. And fans? They're reeling. Let me paint the picture. Imagine going to bed thinking everything about your favorite sport was normal. And then you wake up, open your phone, and boom, everything's different. NASCAR didn't just confirm when races would happen. They confirmed how you'd be watching them, where you'd be watching them, and why the whole game is changing. The big headline? The 2026 season will bring back something fans have begged for: Chicagoland Speedway. That's right. The track that many believed was gone for good is making a surprise return on July 5th. For old-school fans, it feels like a piece of NASCAR history is being resurrected. For newer fans, it's a fresh battleground. Either way, it's electric. But that's just the start. There will be 9 points-paying night races in the Cup Series alone. That's right. NASCAR wants the lights turned on, engines roaring under the stars, and fans screaming well into the evening. Why? Because they believe that's where the thrill lives. Under those lights, on those tracks, at those moments. The 2026 season kicks off with a bang. The clash at Bowman Gray Stadium on February 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern. Broadcast live on Fox, this isn't just a race. It's a declaration of war on boring. Then, the one and only Daytona 500 follows 2 weeks later, February 15th, 2:30 p.m. ET, back in its legendary slot, again on Fox. You could practically feel the heartbeat of the sport pulsing through that time slot. But here's where things start getting complicated. Yes, Fox and NBC are still carrying races, but now there's a twist. NBC will hand over many of its races to the USA Network, and the O'Reilly Auto Parts series will move to the CW. Wait, what? You heard that right. NASCAR's second-tier series is moving to the CW network. Not cable, not NBC, CW. Starting with the Daytona race on February 14th at 5 p.m. ET. The question hitting every fan right in the gut: is this bold or is it reckless? Online, the reaction was instant and furious. One fan on X, formerly Twitter, didn't hold back. "Kill the playoffs and maybe I'll watch. I'm done otherwise." That post blew up, and the replies? Even more divided. You see, for years, NASCAR's playoff format has been a sore spot. Some say it adds drama. Others? They say it strips away the heart of the sport, the grind, the consistency, the skill across a full season. Then came the firestorm over race times. A passionate fan called out NASCAR directly, furious over the late start of the Talladega race. A 2:15 p.m. Dega start time is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care how many more couch potatoes you get to view it. Dega shouldn't start later than 12:30. I've already lost one of our relatives from attending because of the late start. That's not just a complaint. That's heartbreak. That's a real person missing a real moment because of a time slot. And it didn't stop there. Another user questioned NBC directly. What crucial programming in NBC on Sundays is preventing these races from being on there instead of USA Network? Also, if you're going to throw it on USA, why can't that also be simulcasted on Peacock for those who have Peacock? Boom! Right to the heart of it. Why are NASCAR's biggest races being shuffled onto less visible channels? Why are fans being forced to hunt down their sport? And then, the ultimate clash. Football. Hell yeah, what a great idea to start a race during the peak football season times. Sarcasm, frustration, truth. In 2026, NASCAR will go head-to-head with the NFL more than ever before. It's a battle for attention, for eyes, for loyalty. And fans know that not everyone's going to pick stock cars over touchdowns. But NASCAR isn't backing down. In fact, they're doubling down. They've already confirmed that once the final championship race ends on NBC, post-race interviews will move online, to YouTube and X. Why? Because football night in America is waiting in the wings, and TV time is running out. It's a bold move. Some say it's smart. Others say it's a slap in the face to diehard fans who followed this sport for decades. And that's just the first half of the story. Because the real question isn't what NASCAR changed. It's why they changed it. And who they're really doing this for. Why is NASCAR making these massive changes? Why move races to the CW? Why shift from NBC to USA Network? Why force post-race interviews off cable and onto YouTube and X? It's simple, but also not simple at all. NASCAR is trying to survive. No, scratch that. NASCAR is trying to evolve. And that evolution? It's messy, risky, and not everyone's on board. Let me explain. For years now, NASCAR's been chasing a moving target, the modern fan. Not the guy who's been watching since Dale Sr. dominated Daytona. Not the woman who's had the same race seat at Martinsville since 1993. But the next generation, the digital-first crowd, the TikTok scrollers, the Netflix bingers, the ones who don't care about tradition, they care about access. And NASCAR is betting big. By breaking from tradition, by spreading races across Fox, NBC, USA, the CW, and even post-race shows on streaming platforms, they're trying to cover every screen, every demographic, every possibility. But in doing that, they're risking something much bigger. Loyalty. Because let's face it, when you move the Daytona season finale to NBC at 7:30 p.m. on a Saturday, right in the heat of football season, you're asking fans to choose. When you push Xfinity races onto the CW, a network most people associate with teen dramas, you're changing the tone of the sport. And when you skip the regular NBC channel altogether for a midsummer race and toss it on USA without simulcasting it on Peacock, you're saying, this isn't just about racing anymore. This is about business. And fans feel it. The internet exploded with mixed feelings. Some are excited. They like the idea of streaming more content. They like that races can be watched from their phones, their laptops, their smart TVs. They're here for night races and schedule variety. But others, they feel lost, alienated, forgotten. One longtime fan summed it up in a simple, painful line. How about thinking about the fans for once, not just viewers on TV? And honestly, that hits hard. Because this sport, this machine of roaring engines and flying fenders, was built by its fans. By the families who turned Sunday afternoons into tradition. By the ones who camped out for days just to be close to the action. By the people who don't need graphics and slick intros, they just need racing. Still, NASCAR is moving forward, fast. They're not just changing channels and start times. They're changing the entire structure of how you experience the sport. 9 night races, post-race interviews streamed online, a broader mix of tracks, a return to Chicagoland, an all-out push to cover new ground. And you know what? Some of it is exciting. The Coca-Cola 600, locked in for May 24th at 6 p.m. ET, perfect primetime drama. The Nashville Superspeedway Showdown a week later at 7 o'clock p.m., another fan-favorite slot. These aren't random choices. They're strategic moves designed to grab attention and keep it. NASCAR is gambling that under the lights, with the right TV slots, the sport can pull people back in, and maybe even bring new fans to the table. But here's the danger. In chasing new eyes, NASCAR can't afford to turn its back on the hearts that built this empire. That's the tension. That's the drama. And that's what's making the 2026 season the most controversial one in years. Because NASCAR isn't just releasing a schedule, they're writing a new chapter. One where old rules are challenged, new ideas take the wheel, and the sport faces its biggest identity crisis yet. So here's where you come in. What do you think? Are these changes a breath of fresh air, or a betrayal of tradition? Does it excite you to see Chicagoland return? Or does the thought of a Daytona finale competing with the NFL ruin the magic? Should races move to streaming? Should the CW be trusted with NASCAR's future? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And don't hold back. Because one thing's for sure, NASCAR isn't slowing down. And if the fans don't speak up now, the next chapter might look even more unrecognizable. So buckle up. The 2026 season isn't just a new start, it's a battleground. And the fight for the soul of NASCAR has only just begun.